Okay, let's see. Where did I leave off? Oh. That can't be right. Hold up. Oh no. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been quite some time since my last update, and I really tried coming back multiple times, but life just got in the way and prevented me. But here's a long overdue video of what I watched. August to November edition. Yay! Starting on the 23rd of August, I finally watched my first film, and it's a rewatch, Pineapple Express, directed by David Gordon Green. Not much to say. It's a classic stoner movie, still a lot of fun, even if it's a little messier than what I could remember. Still great characters and surprisingly well done action scenes. It's a great time. Next, I watched The Binge, directed by Jeremy Gerlich. I don't have much of a reason as to why I saw this, other than I really like Marta Pykars. She's a beautiful model and one of the funniest people on social media. If you don't know her or don't follow her, I strongly suggest doing so because I love watching her stories. She's extremely funny. She didn't have much of a role here, but it's great to watch others take that plunge into the unknown and be really proud of their work. As for the film itself, it kind of meanders around the plot and scene wise, but Vince Vaughn is honestly great in this. He really made that ending a lot more enjoyable. Next, I watched Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, directed by Sidney Lumet. What a horrible set of characters. Really, I hated all of them, and it was great to see how their stories would end. Great performances really hold this film together. Ethan Hawke and Philip Seymour Hoffman are fantastic, along with the two Aunt Mays they ended up casting. But other than that, I can't really say anything special about it. Next, I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music, directed by Dean Parisot. Dean Parisot. This was one of my anticipated films going into 2020 just because it's been so long since the last installment, and the trailers look pretty promising, at least as far as Bill and Ted go. Honestly, it was pretty true to the lore and the characters, but that made it feel oddly outdated and probably way more upbeat than most modern films. Yeah, it wasn't the best, but with what 2020 has thrown at us so far, it was very much needed at the time. Next, I had the pleasure of watching Hoop Dreams, directed by Steve James. A very interesting point of view for a sports documentary. Most take the direction of being uplifting and inspiring, but Hoop Dreams is not that. It's a story of being an athlete in the inner city coming from broken homes, dealing with more pressures than I could have ever imagined at that age. Hoop Dreams are really their only hope. Man, this was so good. Now, on the 5th of September, I watched the long-awaited Tenet, directed by Christopher Nolan, and boy, what a trip. It's what I expected out of a Nolan film, but it wasn't without its flaws. It really takes off running from the start and barely gives you room to breathe, to take in the characters and all the given information that it needs to explain for the plot to work. On the plus side, the sound design and score was amazing. It really heightened the film. I really liked it. Perhaps after a couple more viewings, I could really determine what side of the fence I'm on, whether I just think it's average or above average. So for now, I would say it's a pretty average movie, especially compared to Nolan's standard, but a pretty good blockbuster. Next, I watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things, directed by Charlie Kaufman. I normally love Charlie Kaufman's work, but this feels extremely pedantic and meanders a bit much even by his standards. The pacing is really slow, but my guess is that's done by design to add to the dreamlike essence. The cast does an amazing job and really hold this film together. I had to watch subsequent videos to kind of understand what I watched. Really added to the clarity of the film, but I don't know. I think if you have to watch videos to understand a film, either you miss something or it's not a good film. I'm not quite sure where this film lands. I would think another viewing would enhance the experience, but I don't know if I actually want to sit through another viewing. But as of right now, it feels like there was a loss in translation between the novel and screenplay. But yeah, I'm a little undetermined on this one. Next, I watched Digimon Adventure Tri Part 1 Reunion, directed by, I'm going to screw this up, Kietaro Motonaga. That's probably wrong. Yeah, but yeah, that whole title is a mouthful. So yeah, it's been a while since I visited these characters. I obviously loved the show growing up, and I recently bought the whole box set with 4 different seasons. And you know, I've been dying to know the conclusion that they came up with, bringing back the original characters from the first series. So here I am. I watched the dub version, and while I'm a huge fan of the original series as well as the O2 series, this is still kind of plagued with awkward dialogue and overdrawn out scenes. I really wish more of the original voice actors returned for the English dubbed, but I feel like most did a serviceable job. So far, I'm not a big fan of the new characters. Also, if what I've seen so far is the new digital world, meh. I really like the Narnia quality that it used to have. Honestly, there's not a whole lot that I like here, but I'm very hopeful it picks up. Yeah, we'll see. Next, I watched Fletch, directed by Michael Ritchie. This film really proves to me how big of a character Chevy Chase used to be. Wow, he works so well with this material. It was actually consistently funny, and I was invested the whole time. Well, until that cheesy 80s ending, but after seeing this, I can see why Chevy Chase was such a big name. And yeah, I'm kind of interested to jump into more of his work. Next, I watched Batman Mask of the Phantasm, directed by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski. I really need to dive back into the animated series, but this was such a great example of tapping into the essence of Batman and Bruce Wayne. I thought that there was a really good balance between the two characters, and I really liked how they kind of affect each other's lives. It was great. It made me really feel nostalgic. Next, I ended the month with The Babysitter, directed by Mick G. Is that his real name? Okay, Letterboxd. This was a lot of fun energy. It reminds me of the old R.L. Stein-esque movies that seemed a bit more scarier and mature than the Goosebumps series, but easy enough for kids' parents not to sue. It's like that, but with actual adult themes. Also, I can't believe that they made me laugh at King Bat's jokes. They actually got me to like his character, and you know, if that's possible, you're doing something right. Next, I started off October with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, directed by Joel Cohen. It's hard to believe that this is mirroring the Odyssey because it feels so detached from Greek mythos given the setting, but I mean, the characters here and obviously as well as the acting really worked for me. I understand why it's such a classic and why people on the internet just love this film. It's weird to say this for a movie, but it's very catching. It's hard to like not watch, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's a very weird thing going on here, but I liked it. Next, I rewatched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, directed by Chris Columbus. Imagine the pressure of getting this film just right to not scare off audiences and film companies. Whew. It's a bit long if I'm being honest, but extremely true to the book, and it builds one of the most magical worlds ever created. I mean, really, this movie made me feel like a kid again. Next, I watched Inside Llewyn Davis, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. Beautifully tragic American story on success and self-indulgent depression. Oscar Isaac absolutely eats this film up. You're really taken along for the journey and feel every single minute of it, but like in a good way. Next, I finished the month with Blackpink Light Up the Sky, directed by Caroline Suh. Actually, I gave this thing like 3 to 4 straight viewings, but I didn't log them all in. I wanted to make a video initially because I had some, I guess, pretty controversial opinions. Not really controversial. I don't know, maybe like a selfish view on this documentary. I kind of wanted more information that wasn't readily available, but I don't know. I wanted to make a video, but I'm such a novice on the fandom that I feel like it would be a disservice to make it, and yeah, I was wrong with my initial review. This gives any newcomer the perfect backstory to the group without much of any damning evidence of hate towards the group or YG for that matter, which from a business point makes sense, but I wish this film just pushed the boundaries of what was held secret under the thumb of YG Entertainment, because I do believe that there's something a little fishy going on. I don't know, I'm gonna leave it at that. If you're a fan or if you're aware of, I guess, K-pop and what's going on over there, this group always has something going on, whether that's positive or negative. It just feels like there's something not being told here, but I'm kind of rambling. Obviously, you know, I wanted to make a video, but that's probably not going to happen. I started off November with Hubie Halloween, directed by Stephen Brill. In hindsight, it is strange that I didn't watch a single Halloween themed film in October and instead bothered to start off November with one. Anyways, like most straight to streaming service Sandler movies, that's a tongue twister. It's oddly treated like like a PG-13 family movie, but it holds a lot of strange adult themes and jokes. So I'm not quite sure what audience that they were aiming for, but it's still a fun time and it doesn't last long, which is good. The last thing you want is a Sandler movie overstaying its welcome. Essentially, this movie is the equivalent of what Christmas movies are to the Christmas holidays, but this is for Halloween. I think that's the best way I can describe it. I'll try watching this again during Halloween time next year. Not quite sure if it'll hold up, but yeah, I think time will tell whether or not we'll get yearly Halloween movies like this. Next, I watched Dazed and Confused, directed by Richard Linklater. Linklater has yet to fail me. Another great slice of life film that is very introspective on the struggles of high school, both from the perspectives of entering and exiting. Everything, as always, feels really natural when it comes to Linklater's work. You know, it feels very real, and I think he does a great job at infusing nostalgia within the audience and connecting that to the story being told on screen. I can't praise this guy more. I think there will be a day where, you know, I see something of his that doesn't click with me, but thankfully, you know, that hasn't happened, and I've loved everything. Next, I watched Agatha and the Truth of Murder, directed by Terry Loan, something like that. I've really been into whodunits recently, and you know, why not continue the binge with the queen herself, Agatha Christie. Unfortunately, this is only loosely based on the true events of her disappearance, but hold little to no truth on the events taking place. None of the characters were really interesting enough to invest in emotionally, and frankly, the red herrings became overbearing, and it nearly blamed the entire cast before rushing to a conclusion. Really, this had all the ingredients for an interesting alternative history film, but it really comes up short for me. Next, I watched Super Troopers, directed by Jay Chandrasekhar. I'm definitely not saying that right. A very absurd and irreverent comedy about the vicious tension between highway patrol and local police. Yeah, honestly, this felt like a, you know, overextended skit. The plot was hardly there, and I mean, if we're being real, it took a backseat to the jokes. Fun, sure, but is it forgettable? I sure hope so. Next, I watched Dave Chappelle's comedy special, For What It's Worth, directed by Stan Lathan. I mean, come on, this is Pete Chappelle. That's an automatic 5 out of 5. He's amazing in this. I was laughing literally the whole time. Yeah. Next, I watched Shanghai Noon, directed by Tom Day. It's pretty crazy that even in a below average movie like this, Jackie Chan still amazes me with his stunt work. It really enhances the action scenes, and wow, I honestly think he's so underrated. Like, people, when they watch a Jackie Chan movie, they know he's good, but it's only when they're watching the movie, you know? Like, nobody talks about it outside of that context, and I don't know. I think he's underappreciated right now, and I think the day he does pass, I think it's going to be really sad. That is a morbid thought. Anyways, on the movie front, there wasn't anything special here. You know, as always, I think the chemistry between Jackie and Owen Wilson really held this movie together, but other than that, I was just kind of waiting for it to end. Next, I watched Safety Not Guaranteed, directed by Colin Trevorrow. Honestly, thought that this film was going to be more straightforward in terms of the plot, but I'm really glad I was wrong. Once you discover what story is really being told, every subplot and thread start coming together to create this uniform idea on love and moving forward, not backwards in life. It's such a heartfelt movie. I hate to say it because it's kind of cheesy, but you know, I was kind of smiling from ear to ear the entire time. You know, I loved it. Next, I watched David Lynch, The Art Life, directed by Olivia Neargard-Holm, John Nugent, and Rick Barnes. I started diving into David Lynch's work, and I'm absolutely in love. Not one piece of work has disappointed me, and so I was really interested in learning about the person behind the camera. Unfortunately, it focuses more on his upbringing and cuts rather short into his filmmaking career. Still, the style in which he was raised, all of his interests, really paint a picture into why, you know, he is David Lynch. Interesting, but not as deep as I would have liked. Next, I watched The Lady Killers, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. Wow, I watch a lot of their films. This film is surprisingly average. J.K. Simmons is still great, you know, he really holds much of the first half of this film. But Tom Hanks, Jesus, man, I actually despise his role in this film. I hate that southern drawl and his stupid laugh. You know, I'm not sure if it's done by design for his character to be so easily hated, but you know, mission accomplished. The first 30 to 45 minutes are such a chore to sit through that even though the ending really managed to pick up the pace and entertainment, I just don't think I ever want to watch this again. From like a cinematic perspective, it's just so bland, and there's nothing really special done with the camera. from what I can remember. And I don't want to remember much, to be honest. Next, I watched Chinatown, directed by the infamous fugitive Roman Polanski. I hate to say it, you know, but I feel the need to separate the work from the artist. So I will say that the camera work is really smooth and nice here. Some of the shots look like they could be like works of art. Jack Nicholson is amazing. The pacing is impeccable, and the noir style just works here. It's kind of ironic though that the underlying dark commentary on viewing society and, you know, its elites was helmed by such a person as Polanski. But hey, you know, that's Chinatown. Next, I watched Spanglish, directed by James L. Brooks. This film is long. For this amount of drama to be so abruptly finished and without much of a resolve is frustrating. I honestly think the film tries to con us. It's 2 hours that doesn't really explain much, but it's long enough for you to get to know the characters and all their flaws. You, as much as the mother and daughter in the film, feel assimilated into this family slash household, and you root for the little victories. But in the end, nothing much changes. You know, that admission letter from the beginning doesn't really absolve to anything, and the family is left with so many lingering questions. I don't even have time to explain how underutilized this decent Adam Sandler performance was. It's only a 3 out of 5 because in the end I was too exhausted from the runtime to realize how broken of a film this really is. And that's it. We're all caught up. Funny enough, over the past 4 months I have watched less than the entire month of July. But yeah, you know, that's life. It got in the way. You know, I attended a funeral, I had birthdays to deal with, and the quarantine really started to weigh me down. And I kind of got to the point where, like, you know, like you pick up a show just just to connect with people again, I guess. You know, I finally watched that new Animaniacs. I think it's fantastic. It's on Hulu if you're interested, and I really recommend it. I think they do a lot of smart, clever little things. Yeah, I'm just a fan. Also, you know, I'm in love with Twin Peaks. I think that show is amazing. I still have a lot to watch with that show, but now, you know, I'm back into films. I haven't stopped logging in all my entries on my Letterboxd, so plug, excuse me. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.